She chose violence wrapped in pastel frosting and pink gift bows. That's what I kept thinking as I stood there, holding a flute of lukewarm champagne, trying to figure out if this was real life or some kind of performance art for the clinically insane. Congratulations, everyone. He's not the father. Her voice cut through the room like a scalpel dipped in sugar, bright, brittle, and cruel. People laughed. Not nervously, not with confusion. Genuinely. Her bridesmaids. Yes, some of them were the same from our wedding. Burst into cackles like this was some Bravo reality show finale. A couple of them even clapped. I didn't drop the glass. I didn't shout. I didn't demand answers. I simply stepped off the stage we were standing on, buttoned my jacket, and walked outside into the sunlight. No one followed. No one stopped me. I dialed one number. For words. That's all I said. Initiate clause 47. From behind me, I heard the sound of a bourbon glass shatter against concrete. Her father, Harold, had been leaning on the railing not far away, watching the entire charade with the same dead eyes he wore at board meetings. He didn't say a word, just stood there, blinking, like a man who'd just realized he'd sleepwalked off a cliff. Then he moved, fast. For a 71-year-old man with 2 knee replacements and a golf addiction, Harold could hustle when the stakes were high enough. He burst back into the hall, barreling past the stunned guests. When he reached Amanda, he didn't yell. He grabbed her wrist. Hard. And in a voice that only I and the woman holding the mimosa behind her could hear, he hissed, "The family trust. Hang up that phone and start begging him. Now." She blinked like a confused toddler. What? What are you talking about? He's bluffing. He always. Amanda. His voice cracked, not from age, but from something closer to panic. You don't understand. I didn't wait around to watch her try to. I had places to be, lawyers to meet, files to unseal. But before I walked to my car, I looked back one more time through the glass. She wasn't smiling anymore, and neither was anyone else. Hey, if you're listening right now and feeling this hit somewhere deep, maybe because you've been there, or feared getting there, do me a favor. Tap subscribe. I'm not great at asking for stuff, but over 90% of people who hear these stories never hit that button. And honestly, knowing you're out there and riding through this with us, that's what fuels the team to keep going. So thanks for even considering it. Now back to the wreckage. See, Amanda thought that moment would be her mic drop, her grand finale. What she didn't know was that it was my opening move. Because Harold didn't just hand me his blessing when we got married. He handed me the vault key to a very expensive, very complicated family trust. One he assumed I'd never use against his own daughter. But here's the thing about control freaks like him and quiet planners like me. We both like backup plans. I just write mine in ink. Clause 47 wasn't just legal jargon. It was a loaded gun sealed inside the trust's governing charter, triggered only by one thing: public conduct that endangered the family's reputation, determined solely by the executor. And guess who the executor was? Not Harold, not his sons, not his attorneys. Me. Amanda loved playing with fire. She just never expected the smoke to spell her name. Most men get a watch when their father-in-law finally respects them. I got a multi-billion-dollar legal weapon dressed up as a thank you. It started quiet, as most traps do. Back when Amanda's father, Harold, sold off the last of his logistics empire, just before the regulations tightened and the tax code changed, he called me into his study like a mafia don in khakis. "You're the only one who knows how to keep a damn spreadsheet clean," he said, pouring 2 bourbons like we were sealing a backroom deal. "And I don't trust my sons. Not with the money. Not with anything." I didn't argue. Harold's boys were the kind of trust fund parasites who spelled entrepreneur with 3 LinkedIn profiles and 0 revenue. One had blown $500,000 trying to create a chain of vegan vape lounges. The other thought cryptocurrency was a personality. So when Harold asked me to become the executor of the family trust, the trust, with the estate, the properties, the offshore accounts, the Delaware foundations, the Cayman feeder fund, the frozen inheritance structures, I accepted. He didn't just hand over the passwords. He handed me the pen. And with that pen, a silent authority to oversee every disbursement, every clause, every contingency locked inside that beast of a document. The trust wasn't just a nest egg. It was an ecosystem, and I was Noah with the key to the ark. Clause 47 sat buried on page 213, footnoted in legalese most people would need a microscope and a Xanax to read. A morality clause, crafted by Harold's legal team during a quiet scandal involving his second wife and a Senate intern. At the time, it was just insurance, a symbolic gesture to make the family scandal-proof. The wording was surgical. In the event of conduct deemed publicly disgraceful, salacious, or reputationally destructive by a named beneficiary, the trustee retains the authority to freeze all distributions, assets, and privileges associated with said party and any directly affiliated co-beneficiaries, pending a full compliance review. Guess who the compliance reviewer was? And guess whose judgment was, quote, not subject to external arbitration. I never expected to use it. Hell, for years I forgot it even existed. Harold's kids mostly stayed out of headlines. Amanda, for all her spite and dramatics, kept things quiet enough. Her public life was brunches, filters, and coordinated charity galas. Until now. That baby shower toast wasn't just personal betrayal, it was public spectacle. Multiple witnesses. Filmed. Shared. Mocked. She might as well have spray-painted, "I'm a liability," on the family office. But here's the fun part no one told Amanda. Clause 47 didn't only apply to her. It was a blanket clause. That meant her brothers, her mother, her own trust-funded social projects. All of them. Frozen. Every lifestyle built on the backbone of Harold's trust. Subject to the same clause. One match. Whole forest burns. You'd be surprised how fast money evaporates when your cards are locked and your name disappears from the distribution schedule. Amanda thought she'd humiliate me with that stunt. But she forgot something vital. I don't humiliate. I document. And when you hand the accountant the nuclear codes, don't act shocked when he hits the button. She kicked the door open like we were on a telenovela. My office, a place designed for quiet decisions and carefully curated chaos, suddenly had a storm in heels standing in the middle of it, mascara running like a crime scene. You wouldn't dare. Amanda snapped, voice shaking more from disbelief than fear. You're bluffing. My dad will reverse it. He'll fix this. You know he will. I didn't even look up from my desk. I was reviewing a ledger, one of her discretionary allocations, ironically, quarterly spending on her lifestyle foundation. Most of it went to overpriced event planners and a wellness retreat in Sedona that billed $600 for moon water. He can't fix it, I said calmly, flipping to the next page. He relinquished operational control when he made me executor. His name's ornamental now. You embarrass me in front of 62 people. On record. On video. It's already online. She scoffed like a sitcom villain. Please. You think I care about a few snobby brunch friends? They'll forget in a week. They won't, I said. Because they didn't laugh with you. They laughed at me. And I don't let that sit. You're so dramatic, she hissed, pacing. All this over a joke. You're willing to nuke the trust, your own reputation, your job, just to prove some twisted point. I finally looked at her. Really looked. No longer the girl I married in that quiet vineyard, the one who wore secondhand pearls and talked about building something real. This was someone else, an influencer in a rented life, addicted to attention like it was oxygen. You think this is about me? I said, voice even. Amanda, I don't need the trust. I never took a cent from it. I built my own life before your father even knew how to spell my name. The person about to implode here isn't me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her pupils shifted like a roulette while landing on the wrong number. I'll sue, she spat. I leaned back, folding my hands. You'll try, but see, you're not entitled to any of it. Your stake was always discretionary. Harold built it that way for a reason. The trust charter makes that very clear. I could pull up the document now, but I think you'd rather scream than read. She stared, lip twitching. You're bluffing. You keep saying that, I said. It's adorable. Like watching someone try to blow out a candle while standing in a hurricane. The room fell into an awkward silence, punctuated only by the soft tick of the grandfather clock, Harold's, which I'd kept more out of irony than affection. Amanda grabbed a crystal paperweight off the side table, one of those useless decorative ones, etched with a quote from some retreat she'd attended, and hurled it at the wall. It shattered. I didn't flinch. You're a monster, she said. You'd rather burn it all down than forgive me? No, I said. I'm just finally collecting. For what? I stood, walked past her to the bar cart, poured a glass of scotch. For 15 years of microcuts. For every eye roll in front of your friends. For every time you called me boring, controlling, obsessive. For every passive-aggressive post you made that people DM me about. For the therapy bills you said were my problem. And for today, when you decided to detonate our life just to get applause. She didn't respond. She just stood there, watching me sip that scotch like I was tasting the end of a war I never asked to fight. Oh, I added, and one more thing. She narrowed her eyes. I tossed her a small silver key. It landed near her feet. That's to the wine cellar in Aspen, I said. You won't get far with it, though? They changed the locks. Trust property. Sorry. Amanda didn't move. She didn't scream again. She just stared at that key on the floor like it had teeth. The first clue came at 7:43 a.m. when her coffee app declined her usual order. The barista, a college kid with an undercut and Namaste tattooed on his forearm, gave her the kind of look reserved for people who fake their Amex limit. "Do you want to try another card?" he asked, trying not to sound smug. Amanda blinked, stunned. "No, this one's fine." "Run it again." He did. Same result. Amanda pulled out a different card. Then another. Declined. 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 It wasn't until she opened her banking app that the oxygen really left the room. The screen loaded slowly, then flashed red text. Access restricted. Please contact your financial institution. Every account, joint, personal, trust affiliated, was either frozen or marked under review. She tried logging into the trust portal next. Access denied. Then her foundation's business card. Same fate. The card she used for her charity's travel expenses? Frozen. The reserve she'd used to pay the caterer for next week's influencer brunch? Gone. Amanda sprinted home, her mind ping-ponging between outrage and confusion. She didn't even take off her heels before unlocking her laptop and opening the shared asset spreadsheet Harold's trust team updated every Monday. Normally, it displayed a matrix of property values, liquidity estimates, dividend forecasts, neat little numbers she barely skimmed. But today, it greeted her with one line in bold red. Asset review initiated, clause 47 active. She opened her email next, fingers trembling, heart racing. Sure enough, a message from the trust's lead accountant sat at the top of her inbox. Subject: Notification of temporary suspension of distributions and asset freeze, clause 47. Dear Ms. Andrews, pursuant to the invocation of clause 47 by the acting trustee, all direct and affiliated disbursements tied to your beneficiary profile are temporarily suspended pending a full reputational and compliance audit. Per the terms outlined in Schedule 4B of the Trust Charter, you are no longer authorized to manage, access, or represent the following properties: Fairbrook Estate, primary residence, listed in holding; Seawind Villa, vacation property, formerly managed by you; the Lux Collective Foundation, pending audit. This action is effective immediately and non-negotiable pending review. Regards, Thomas Callan, Senior Trust Accountant. Amanda's mouth went dry. Fairbrook was her pride. She designed the kitchen herself. Seawind was where she threw last year's Equinox party, the one that ended up on a lifestyle blog. Now both were listed under pending liquidation review, like they were abandoned assets in a bankrupt estate. She grabbed her phone and hit Dad in her favorites. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. She called his assistant, Leslie. "I need to speak to him now." There was a pause. Then, "I'm sorry, Amanda. Mr. Andrews isn't taking personal calls today. He asked to forward any trust-related matters to legal." Amanda nearly dropped the phone. "This isn't a trust matter. He's my father, for God's sake." "I understand, ma'am. I really do." But he was very clear. The line went dead. Amanda stood in the middle of her kitchen, barefoot now, half of her espresso spilled on the marble counter, staring at the reality she'd just stepped into. She wasn't broke. Not yet. But she wasn't liquid either. And that's a far scarier thing when your entire life runs on cash flow and cloud. No staff. No drivers. No seamless transactions. Just empty plastic and access revoked. Even the thermostat blinked, unable to connect to network. As if the house itself knew she didn't belong anymore. The first time Amanda saw the video, it was on mute. Someone had tagged her on Instagram. Some second cousin she barely knew from Harold's third marriage. The caption read, "Wait for it. Bomb, bomb, bomb," followed by a dozen crying laughing emojis and one lone skull. Curious, annoyed, and still half asleep from a night of staring at her frozen accounts, she clicked. There it was. A shaky phone recording of the baby shower. The soft clinking of cutlery. Her standing, glass raised, with that smug little smirk she always wore when she thought she was being clever. "Congratulations, everyone. He's not the father." The room's reaction, a mix of gasps, laughter, awkward cheers, played out in brutal high definition. Amanda's voice was crystal clear. Her tone, dripping with glee. The kind of glee that doesn't age well when played back with subtitles and meme music. The hashtags were already trending. Hashtag baby shower bomb. Hashtag who's daddy. Hashtag girl what. Hashtag trust fund meltdown. Hashtag family scandal 2025. Within an hour, it was all over TikTok too. Edited versions had popped up with reaction cuts, dramatic music overlays, and even fake news anchor voiceovers narrating her downfall like it was a docuseries. Someone had looped the video with the audio from Maury Povich shouting, "You are not the father." Amanda sat frozen in her silk robe, watching herself become the internet's new chew toy. She tried calling the cousin. No answer. Then she DM'd them, threatening legal action. They replied with a single laughing emoji and the words, "It's public, babe. Chill." That's when she felt it. Not anger, terror. Because public embarrassment wasn't just humiliating anymore. It was binding. Somewhere, she knew, deep down, Derek had already seen this. And worse, so had the Trust's legal team. Meanwhile, in a different part of town, Derek sat in a sleek office overlooking the bay, sipping his second espresso while his attorney clicked send on an email flagged urgent, Clause 47 trigger submission. Attached was a zip file containing 3 MP4s of Amanda's toast from 3 different angles, links to news articles already circulating, and a summary memo titled, Exhibit A, Breach of Morality Clause, Public Disgrace, Reputational Harm. The body of the email was simple. 2. Trust Compliance Committee. Re. Invocation of Clause 47. As per the Trust governing documents and bylaws, please find attached video and media documentation evidencing direct violation of Clause 47. This footage has resulted in significant reputational risk to the family trust and associated entities. Formal review requested under Schedule 4C. Sincerely, Charles M. Kerwin, Legal Counsel for Mr. Derek Andrews, Acting Trustee. By noon, Amanda's father's PR team was fielding calls from 2 local stations and a podcast producer offering to let Amanda tell her side. That side, no longer hers to tell, because by 3 p.m., the Trust Compliance Team issued an internal advisory. Preliminary review completed, public scandal confirmed. Proceeding to asset suspension phase 2. She tried to get ahead of it, drafted a post calling it a joke gone wrong, and that she and Derek were working through a rough patch. The comments ate her alive. Not funny when people have real infertility issues. So what happened to the real dad, sis? Girl, you torched your whole future for what? Clout. And just like that, it wasn't just Derek freezing her accounts anymore. It was the internet freezing her. The call came at 6:12 a.m. Derek was already dressed. He stood in front of the window in his study, the one that overlooked the private marina Harold had gifted them access to back when Amanda still pretended to believe in forever. His coffee was black. No sugar. No distractions. The phone buzzed once, Harold Andrews in bold letters. Derek let it ring 3 times before answering. He didn't speak first. "Derek," Harold said, breathless like he'd run to the phone. "Jesus Christ. What the hell are you doing?" Derek stared at the bay. Calm waters. Fog curling around the hulls like secrets with nowhere left to hide. "You invoked the clause. You really went through with it. The whole board's in a panic. My lawyer is. You're not authorized to act on behalf of the trust," Derek said plainly. Harold went silent. Then, "I know. I remember what I signed. I didn't think you'd ever use it." "You made me executor," Derek replied. "Irrevocably. Full powers. Your words. You're going to destroy everything," Harold said, voice climbing now. "The whole goddamn legacy. I've got deals pending. Real estate sales tied to the trust. That Aspen escrow needs to clear by Friday or we forfeit 7 figures in tax shielding." Derek smiled faintly. "Should have considered that before your daughter turned our baby shower into a comedy roast." "She was emotional," Harold snapped. "It was a stupid joke. You don't nuke a family empire over a stupid joke." "No," Derek said. "I'm doing it because I told her, warned her, what would happen. Because you told me yourself, years ago, my kids don't know when to shut up. Remember that? You said I was the only one who could keep the brand clean." "I didn't mean like this," Harold whispered. "You were supposed to protect the trust." "I am," Derek said. There was a long pause. Harold shifted to begging. "Let me fix it. I'll issue a statement. Say it was staged. Get some firm to spin the narrative. We'll donate something. Or say you two are working it out. Maybe she was off her meds. People will forget. We'll control the optics." "Harold," Derek interrupted, cold now. "This isn't a press cycle. This is consequence. You think I'm doing this out of spite? You think this is about a meme? Isn't it?" Harold shot back, desperation turning bitter. "You want to be the sainted victim? Fine. Be a martyr. But this is vengeance." "No," Derek said. "This is accounting." Harold's voice cracked. "I trusted you. You outsourced your legacy to me because you were too scared to hold your own children accountable," Derek said. "You built an empire on control and then got soft. And now you want me to mop up the fallout from a daughter you never said no to. But guess what, Harold? I'm not afraid of her. She'll be ruined, Harold muttered. Socially, financially, you're taking away everything. No, Derek said. She took it from herself. I'm just hitting the enter key. Harold didn't respond for a moment. Then he tried the oldest move in his playbook, manipulation through legacy. What would Eleanor think, he asked. If she could see you now? Derek's jaw tightened. Eleanor, Harold's late wife. Amanda's mother. The one person in the whole damn family who never treated Derek like furniture with a credit score. The only one who warned him. If she ever turns on you, don't let her bury you. You're worth more than that. Derek let the silence stretch. She'd think, he said quietly, that I kept my receipts. Then he hung up. No threats. No insults. Just the click of finality. On Harold's end, in a mansion full of oil paintings and muted phones, the dial tone rang like a funeral bell. Her new attorney walked in like he'd already won. Fresh suit, fresh tan, and that smug "my retainer has 6 zeros" confidence that fades fast under pressure. His name was Dylan something. One of those boutique firm pit bulls who post shirtless paddleboard photos on LinkedIn under the caption, "Work hard, play harder." Amanda found him through her yoga instructor's ex-boyfriend, apparently. Dylan specialized in reputation management and high-profile family asset arbitration, which really meant he was good at making rich people's problems look like misunderstandings. He introduced himself by sliding a leather folio across Derek's counsel's desk and saying, "We're prepared to litigate aggressively unless a reinstatement proposal is submitted within 72 hours. Derek's attorney, Charles, didn't even blink. He gently flipped the folio open with a gloved hand. Yes, Charles wore gloves when reviewing anything from opposing counsel. Not for hygiene, for drama. Inside, a 10-page brief accusing Derek of everything from emotional manipulation to psychological abuse to financial coercion. The claim painted Amanda as the delicate victim of a cold, calculating man who used his position as executor to exert disproportionate influence and financial punishment in retaliation for a private dispute. It ended with a demand, full restoration of Amanda's access to the trust, reimbursement for emotional damages, and a formal apology to be issued in writing and distributed through family channels. Dylan leaned back, looking pleased. We'll file if we don't hear back. Charles exhaled slowly, like a man dealing with an overeager intern. Mr. Carrington, are you familiar with the internal governance of this trust? Dylan nodded. I've read the key sections. Then you missed Clause 47, Charles said, producing a copy from his briefcase, double-highlighted, annotated, and tabbed like a professor preparing for war. Dylan waved it off. The morality clause? That's subjective. A judge won't touch that without hard parameters. It's vague. Charles smiled like a chess player watching a pawn beg for mercy. Subjectivity is irrelevant when the authority to interpret reputational harm lies solely with the trustee. That would be Mr. Andrews. His decision isn't subject to appeal. Arbitration is explicitly waived by signature of all living beneficiaries, your client included. Dylan flipped through the clause. Then again, slower this time. His fingers paused at, all decisions by the acting trustee shall be considered final, binding, and not open to judicial override unless fraud can be demonstrably proven. Charles continued. Furthermore, Ms. Andrews' disbursements were always at the discretion of the trustee. She was never guaranteed a fixed percentage. There is no contractual breach here. Her status was a privilege, not a right. Privilege can be revoked. Public scandal constitutes breach of character. Per Clause 47, she is suspended indefinitely, pending committee review, which, I should note, is being led by 2 of Harold's most conservative cousins. The same ones she called inbred money huggers during her Napa bachelorette trip. We have that on audio. Dylan's mouth twitched. This isn't going to go away. She's prepared to fight. She can, Charles said, standing. But she'll be fighting air. Her father won't back her. He can't afford to. The rest of the board won't touch her. You know what that means, right? Dylan didn't answer. It means, Charles said, slipping on his gloves again. This isn't a legal battle. This is a funeral. And your client brought a selfie stick. The meeting ended without a handshake. Amanda's next move was a desperate one. She filed an emergency injunction claiming emotional duress. The judge denied it within 36 hours, citing lack of urgency and insufficient evidence of harm. Her accounts remained frozen. Her access remained revoked. And Dylan? He billed her for 21 hours and referred her to a publicist. Because even attorneys know when a name becomes radioactive. Amanda hadn't been to the villa in over a month. Not since before the baby shower, when she was still sipping cucumber cocktails by the infinity pool and telling her friends that Derek was finally loosening up. Back then, she floated in that house like a queen, barefoot on imported travertine, FaceTiming from the wraparound balcony, dropping phrases like, "my Aspen place," or "we're renovating the guest wing." She truly believed it was hers. Because on paper, her paper, it was. Until it wasn't. When she pulled up to the gate that morning, everything looked normal. Manicured hedges, flagstone drive, the steel keypad beside the black iron gate blinking, waiting for her 6-digit code. She typed it in. Access denied. She tried again. Slower this time. Denied. The small intercom beside the keypad chirped, and a low voice came through. Please state your name. Amanda pressed the button. It's Amanda Andrews. I'm here to open the house. My name should be on file. There was a pause. Static. Then the gate clicked, but didn't open. A man in a gray uniform stepped out from behind the side enclosure. Mid-40s, no nonsense, clipboard in hand, trust-issued patch on his jacket. I'm going to need to see ID, he said, stepping forward. She blinked. Excuse me? I don't need clearance. This is my house. The man didn't blink. Name, please. Amanda Andrews. We've owned this property for years. I'm not some stranger. He flipped a page. I don't see your name on the access list, ma'am. That's impossible. My name's on the title. The guard tapped his earpiece. Control, confirm, property ID SEL, V19. Beneficiary access currently assigned to Mr. Derek Andrews only. Confirmed. A distant voice replied. Confirmed. Title reversion completed under Clause 6E. Beneficiary status not active. Amanda's mouth dried instantly. She stepped closer. This house was gifted to me. It was mine. The guard held firm. It was assigned to you during active beneficiary status. That status has since been suspended pending compliance review. As of last week, title has legally reverted to the trust's holding company. Any previous access codes, registrations, or auto entry tags have been voided. No. That's wrong. The deed had my name. I paid for the landscaping. I hired the designers. My office is inside. The holding company reimbursed all expenses per the contract, he said flatly. The trust covered all improvements as part of property stewardship. Anything left inside will be inventoried. You may submit a retrieval request through the trust's compliance team. Amanda's hands curled into fists. I'm his wife. You think you can just erase me from my own home? The man didn't flinch. As far as the trust is concerned, ma'am, this property is currently assigned to a single individual, Mr. Derek Andrews. She tried one last tactic. Do you know who I am? He finally looked her in the eye. No, ma'am. And according to this clipboard, neither do we. He turned and walked back to his booth, leaving Amanda standing there, alone, outside the gates of the house she once ruled like a crown jewel. The wind picked up. Somewhere in the distance, a motion sensor clicked, and the lights on the columns faded out, timed with Derek's arrival, not hers. She screamed, punched the keypad. Nothing. Not even a spark of power. Her phone vibrated in her bag. A new email from the Trust Compliance Office. Subject, Asset Notification Update, Property ID SCL, V19. Dear Ms. Andrews, as per Clause 47 and subsequent review, access to trust-owned properties formerly assigned to your beneficiary account has been restricted. Please refrain from attempting entry without written authorization. Any violation may be considered trespassing under applicable state law. Regards, Trust Compliance Oversight Team. She stared at the screen, the bold text blurring against the sunlight. In the rearview mirror, she saw herself, smeared mascara, blazer slightly wrinkled, lips pressed in that frozen half-smile she used when trying not to cry in public. Amanda had always believed that luxury was ownership. Now she realized what Derek always knew. Possession means nothing when the paperwork lives in someone else's drawer. When Amanda threw the reframe the narrative party, she still believed she could salvage it. It was held in a borrowed penthouse because, of course, the trust had revoked her event access, and co-hosted by a vaguely famous food blogger she once insulted behind her back, but now suddenly called my bestie. She sent out digital invites in gold script. Let's toast to transparency, growth, and the next chapter. What she meant was, please still believe I'm important. Of the 86 people invited, 32 RSVP'd. 17 showed up. The hors d'oeuvres were tragically overambitious, tiny avocado soufflés that collapsed under the weight of the room's discomfort. Someone spilled champagne on the PR intern's laptop. A minor influencer posted an Instagram story captioned, "Yikes vibes," with a boomerang of Amanda laughing too loudly at a joke no one else heard. She gave a toast. Of course she did. Told the group how the internet never tells the full story, and we all make mistakes. Then ended with a performative tear and a vague promise to get back to the work that matters. Half the room clapped. The other half was already texting under the table. By the time dessert hit, some gluten-free monstrosity made of beet mousse and edible gold. 2 more guests had left, citing early morning shoots. Amanda smiled through it all. Posed, performed, pretended, but her phone kept buzzing, and none of it was good. The next day, she got the email. Subject: Board membership termination, The Haven Collective. Dear Ms. Andrews, following a unanimous vote, we regret to inform you that your position on the Haven Collective's Board of Ambassadors has been terminated effective immediately. This decision was based on recent public conduct that, in our view, does not align with the values and standards of the organization. We appreciate your previous contributions. Best, Tamara Hill, Executive Director. Amanda didn't even cry. She just forwarded it to her assistant with a one-word subject line. Fix. But her assistant, like so many others that week, had already updated her LinkedIn to say seeking new opportunities. Then came the sponsorship collapse. A boutique wellness brand Amanda had helped broker a $250,000 deal for, complete with paid retreats, social content, and emotional synergy workshops, sent an official letter terminating all partnership negotiations. Their reason? Public association risk. They didn't even call. She found out when the campaign photographer texted her, "Hey, are we still shooting Wednesday?" Or, 3 days later, a podcast that once begged for her attention quietly replaced her episode with an interview from a mid-tier interior designer who could at least say they hadn't detonated a marriage on camera. Amanda reached out to a family friend, someone she once called her ride or die, to grab coffee, decompress, maybe get some sympathy. The response? A heart emoji. Nothing else. She tried again. "Are we okay?" No reply. She checked Instagram. The friend had unfollowed her. By the end of the week, Amanda made a list of everyone who had distanced themselves. It included her old roommate from college, the editor at Vignette Weekly, the stylist who dressed her for last year's gala, 2 foundation chairs, her own godmother. She'd once believed that wealth insulated her from exile, that charm could mop up scandal, that people would always choose her because of proximity to power. What she forgot was that power has a current. And when the trust flipped the switch, when Derek made her name radioactive, everyone stepped back, fast. Not out of hate, just habit. No one clings to a sinking dock when the boat's still dry. The knock came at 7:02 a.m. No one knocks at that hour unless something's wrong. Death, delivery, or debt collector. Those are the usual suspects. Amanda opened the door barefoot, wearing one of her old cashmere robes that now looked more like a costume than comfort. A courier in a navy vest handed her a thick, white envelope. No return address. Just her name, Amanda Lee Andrews, typed in bold, sterile font. She didn't thank him. She just stared, heart thudding like something inside her already knew. She brought it to the kitchen and opened it with shaking fingers. 3 documents slid out, each more final than the last. The first was official, headed with the trust seal embossed in silver foil. Notice of beneficiary suspension, indefinite. Dear Ms. Andrews, following full internal review by the Compliance Committee and Executive Board, and pursuant to Clause 47 of the Andrews Family Irrevocable Trust, we regret to inform you that your beneficiary status has been suspended indefinitely. Effective immediately, you are no longer entitled to access trust-owned properties, receive trust-funded disbursements, participate in trust-affiliated ventures, accounts, or privileges. Your conduct has been deemed reputationally damaging to the trust and its stakeholders. As per Schedule 5A, this decision is final and not subject to arbitration. Respectfully, C. Marks, Compliance Chair. M. Royce, Legal Counsel. The second letter was shorter, typed in 12-point Times New Roman, with the cold elegance only Harold could deliver when pretending he wasn't furious. Amanda, I warned you. Never cross the man who holds the vault key. You thought the trust was about money. It's about control. Derek doesn't bluff, and he doesn't forget. This outcome was preventable. Dad, no love, no call me, no signature, just a clean disowning, papered, notarized, and dropped at her feet like a trapdoor. She flipped to the final page. This one was handwritten. Neat, deliberate, black ink on heavy linen paper. You wanted attention. Now every room you enter will know your name, for the wrong reason. You didn't just break trust. You broadcast it. Enjoy the silence. You earned it. Derek. Amanda dropped the letter. It hit the tile like a sentence. She sank to her knees, not out of grief. Grief implies you've lost something alive. No, this was heavier. This was irreversibility. A silence so total it hummed. The kind of silence that comes after the final echo of a name that used to matter. She crawled toward her phone like it might change something. Like she could dial a reality where this didn't happen. Her screen was filled with nothing but old texts. Ignored, unanswered, unread. Even the group chat she used to run, Brunch Queen's kiss mark bottle with popping cork, had gone quiet. She opened her banking app again. Still frozen. She opened her media folder. The video of the baby shower played on loop. She deleted it, then undeleted it, then watched it again. Her own voice was unbearable now. Congratulations, everyone. He's not the father. That laugh. She hated it. Amanda finally stood, looked around the room. Empty of movement, noise, people. She was surrounded by things. Chairs, bags, framed photos, but none of it felt owned. None of it was hers. Not anymore. The trust had stripped her of status. The world had stripped her of narrative. And Derek? He hadn't shouted. He hadn't posted. He hadn't even gloated. He just wrote a sentence. And walked away. Quiet. Precise. Complete.